And on that fabulous note, ladies and gentlemen, let's march ahead and invite our next speaker. Joining us, we have with us a speaker, a panelist, and a juror as well, who has been at various Indian design forums. And having joined in 2010 the Studio Lotus, she leads all the design initiatives in the domain of experiential design as well as hospitality interiors. Now, as we all know, that Studio Lotus is acknowledged as a thought leader in the country for their work in the domain of architecture and interior design. So joining us now to share the importance of understanding the existing elements while creating new ones as per the requirements of the design, we have with us none other than our speaker, Asha Sairam. So if I may please invite, ladies and gentlemen, the huge round of cheer, the design principal at Studio Lotus, Asha Sairam.
Yeah, I was a little worried about the post-lunch session as well, because making a presentation while everyone's fighting the urge to take a nap. I know the program says that Siddharth Talwar was meant to present, but he took ill at the last minute, so I'm here in his stead. As Kavya mentioned, I am from Studio Lotus. We are a multidisciplinary practice of about 60-odd people, and our work tends to take a deeply contextual, value-driven approach to design. So the studio is actually led by 5 principals. We were founded in 2002 by Ambrish, Siddharth, and Ankur. And about 10 and 8 years ago, respectively, Pankhuri and I joined the practice. And today, we're all heading our own individual business units within the practice. So our work actually spans across various domains, from F&B to hotels, retail, workspace, and large-scale architectural projects. So just to give you a glimpse of the kind of stuff that we've been doing over the past few years, this is a project right here in Bombay, in Vikhroli. This is the Imagine Studio for Godrej, which was done in collaboration with the GPL Design Studio. It's a marketing journey for Trees, which is their real estate development. Our primary intent here was to retain the industrial heritage of the site, so we've repurposed these existing structures and made them into key punctuations in the customer journey. This is an architectural interior project we did in Delhi. It's a residence, so there are 2 twin residences adjacent to a very noisy highway in Delhi. So to keep the residents away from the noise of the highway, we made it a very inward-looking experience. So both the blocks have their own court, and it gives us many opportunities for a seamless indoor-outdoor transition. The interior palette was left very neutral and contemporary, but it's embellished with a lot of handcrafted details in the wall panelings and furniture. This is one of our most recent projects. This is the flagship store for fashion designer Gaurav Gupta in Mehroli. And this was, again, a collaboration with Gaurav because he's very involved in his own projects. At the center of the site, we had this very old tree that was cutting through the roof. So we've encased it in this very sculptural metal and glass casing that terminates into a skylight and brings in a lot of natural light into the store. This is a members-only club in Gurgaon, which is inside the Horizon Towers, for those of you who are familiar. We've done multiple spaces within this programmatically. So this is the all-day dining, there's a banquet, there is a bar and a co-working space. This is an adaptive reuse project in Baga for the Royal Enfield group. At the center of the project is this old little Portuguese house, which we sort of repurposed into an exhibition space. There are multiple programs within this facility. There's a cafe and bar, an exhibition space, a service center, and a retail facility. So we collaborated with co-design and with local artists in Goa to be able to create the content for these wall panels, and which were then laid with the Portuguese blue tiles. We've also been working with Royal Enfield for a few years now to develop their retail design identity, which is now being rolled out across the world. This is a house that we've done in Jangpura in Delhi, which is a very densely packed area. So again, to give privacy to the residents, the entire house has been wrapped with a brick veil, and there are these openings that have been left selectively to give glimpses between the indoors and the outdoors. Last year, we opened the first Kohler Experience Center in India. This is in Delhi in Lajpat Nagar. It is a 10,000 square foot facility spanning across 2 floors, and it showcases the entire range of Kohler products. This project is currently in construction. This is a boutique hotel in Kangra, up north. The entire hotel has been planned as a spine that is sitting at the highest point of the site, and all the rooms are suites and you get views both to the mountains and to the valley from each room. This is an adaptive reuse project we did a few years ago inside the City Palace in Jaipur. This is an F&B and bar called Baradari, where we spent a lot of time restoring the peripheral structure and then inserted this very contemporary pavilion in the space which holds our bar. So that was just a quick glimpse into the kind of stuff we've been doing for the past few years. So I've been with the Studio Lotus team now for about 8 years, and I've had the privilege of working on a variety of different projects with this very diverse team. And with each project comes different learnings. So today I'm just going to take you through 3 projects and what my learnings from them were and how they created meaning for me. So the first one was really about learning to unlearn. So Fastrack approached us to develop their retail design identity. For those of you who don't know, Fastrack is a youth accessory brand, which tends to be very irreverent and very provocative and very sexually explicit in their advertising and positioning. And they really wanted that to come through into their retail space, that spirit of irreverence. So we began by conceptualizing the space as a gallery where they have 6 different product categories and they're all quite small. So we said we'll work around the display and develop installations for each of the product categories, making the purchase experience unique. The clients loved it, we were excited about it. We started thinking about what all we could do, how could we come up with installations for each of these product categories. It was a really fun exercise. And once we got the green light, we started breaking this down into a layout. And what would this look like in a space? We started applying all the rules of retail in terms of clearances and display heights and visibility and stocking and all of that. And we ended up with something that looked like this. Suffice it to say, it was a disaster. The space lacked soul. It didn't reflect or embody any of the brand's values. So we had to trash it and sort of go back to the drawing board. So we spent some time thinking about what are the various parameters that are important in the domain of retail. So we listed out these 13 different parameters, ranging from brand recall to display flexibility, modularity, interior fatigue. And we spent weeks going back and forth with our clients trying to understand which of these are supremely important to them and which ones are they willing to compromise on a little bit in pursuit of something else. So what this left us with was a challenge saying that we have a brand that is fundamentally rebellious and we're trying to place it into a retail scenario which does require a certain amount of order. So how do we sort of bridge this gap? So we started looking for a metaphor for this, and the scaffolding sort of became a natural metaphor for this design. Because the structure of it from the outside has a sort of gritty urbanness to it, which sort of suits the personality of the brand. But at the same time, once you enter it, the grid-like structure actually creates a lot of order for us to be able to bring into the retail space. So that became our concept. We had this 2-foot by 2-foot grid of pipes that was inserted into our shell. All of our display fixtures also fit within the pipes. Our various product installations come and sit within the pipes. And the whole thing is sealed off with a 2-foot by 2-foot ceiling grid that takes care of our services. So that's what the space actually looks like from the outside. This was the first store we did for them on CMH Road in Bangalore. So from the outside, there's a sense of chaos and layering that you see. But once you go in, you can actually see that there are clearances and there's enough ways for you to make your way around the store. And then, of course, we still managed to come up with something fun for each of the product categories. The refrigerator has all of their new products and launches. We had these denim butts for wallets and bananas for eyewear. So it was this really fun exercise, like going back to college, which is not something you often get to do anymore, where it's almost borderline gimmicky, but you're just not trying to intellectualize anything too much. So this was Fastrack. The next project I'd like to talk to you about was really an exercise in inclusive design. So as a practice, we genuinely believe that genius is an act of the collective, not an individual. And we really enjoy collaborating with different people. And no other project really celebrates collaboration as much as this one does. So Ikaya is a Banarsi textile brand based out of Delhi. They had collaborated with the French Federation of Made to Measure, and 15 French fashion designers had developed couture wedding gowns using Banarsi textiles. And those gowns were now coming to India and were going to be showcased in an exhibition, and we were brought on board to design the exhibition. And the exhibition is what is called Kusudor, which in French translates to woven of gold. So our concept for the exhibition was really simple. It was a celebration of the eternal romance between weddings and flowers. And being that it was French, we went with the idea of a lily, and these are Victoria lilies in the image there on the far right. So we sort of used that and abstracted our concept from it, that each of our gowns would be on a dress form that would be standing in the middle of an abstraction of a Victoria lily and on some abstraction of water. Bikaner House, which is the venue for this exhibition, also tends to be a popular destination for exhibitions in Delhi. So we really wanted to disconnect the visitor from the shell. So we wanted to clad the entire exterior with this soft white fabric that sort of conceals the shell of Bikaner House. It's a really immersive experience. So we had this idea, except we had no idea how to proceed further. Like, how do we build this? So we approached Onkon Mitra, who is the undisputed mad scientist of origami. And he came to our rescue and started collaborating with us on trying to figure out what these lily forms could be. How do we fold them? How could we lift them? How could we light them? How do we weigh them down? So it's an exhibition. The deadlines are hard and there's never enough time. So half of our studio was at his studio through the night, folding and pleating paper till the wee hours of the morning. And his team also developed these 3 beautiful chandeliers for us, which played the dual role of diffusing the light and also concealing 3 chandeliers in the Bikaner house. That's what the final result of it looked like. This was on display in March of this year. So adjacent to each of the gowns, there's also this birch ply podium that we got made, which has a little concept note about the gown and the designer and what their point of inspiration was. So for the podiums, we worked with mirror acrylic, so they're like little abstractions of water droplets, and you can see how they're reflecting the paper lily forms. And we suspended these circular mirror forms behind some of the gowns in the periphery to capture the details at the back of the gowns. The last project I'd like to take you through was really an exercise in celebrating craft. Now, this is an F&B project that we did in Dubai. This opened earlier this year. This is called Musti, which is essentially a restaurant that serves Indian-inspired global cuisine. The site is located along the beachfront in Jumeirah in a new development called La Mer. And we had an independent site spanning across 2 floors just for this restaurant. This was a very exciting project for us, of course, but even for the clients and for everyone involved in Dubai, because this was going to be the first licensed restaurant to sit across the beachfront, which wasn't tied to a hotel in Dubai. So before we began, we actually received a very comprehensive visual document from a hospitality consultant called Meraki & Modus in Dubai. And they had a vision for what this brand was going to be, that it was going to be completely inspired by India, colorful, fun, mischievous, and really celebrating all the cliches of India that we here in India hide from. But over there, they really wanted to sort of celebrate and play it up. So that was our site on the ground floor. About 40% of the site is actually outdoors. So there are 3 months that Dubai has fabulous weather, so you can have a seamless indoor-outdoor experience. There are 2 points of entry into the ground floor, one directly from the beach and one which is a valet drop-off at the back. That's what the beachside entry actually feels like. So you can just walk up from the sand onto the deck and into the restaurant. So on the ground floor, a large portion of it was taken up by our kitchen, and we managed to tuck in a small live kitchen which is actually visible to people who are walking outside the property. The ground floor itself was conceived more as a daytime space, so they call it the Musti canteen, and the entire experience is actually anchored by the juice bar. That's the ground floor beachside entry, and you can see the live kitchen there on the left, which is visible to people from the outside. That's what the entrance space feels like. All of the decorative lighting that you see in this space was designed in collaboration with Ayush Kasliwal, AKFD Studios in Jaipur. And he worked with various craftsmen to be able to develop each of these individual fixtures. At both the entries, we did this flooring inlay in brass, which is sort of inspired by a kolam, which is like South Indian rangoli. That's actually the ground floor. Since the shell and the upholstery and everything was so vibrant, we went with a very neutral poured concrete floor on both levels. As you see, the juice bar is really the centerpiece of this experience. The juice bar also for us was inspired by the way you see juice stalls in India, that they're stacked rich with produce and just really ordered and organized, and that's what sort of inspired the form of this as well. That is the outdoor deck on the ground floor. The windows that you see there actually opens up to give you a seamless indoor-outdoor experience. The furniture, again, became a great opportunity for us to play with craft. All the furniture was designed and manufactured in India in collaboration with Mangrove Collective. The tabletops, we worked with Indian marble, so the cost of it were cheap, and then we embellished it with stone inlay. And there's a riot of colors in this space with cushions and prints, all of which we developed in collaboration with Twal Andean, a graphic and textile design studio based out of New Delhi. Just behind the juice bar is where you have the valet entrance. So this was the only double height space we had, so we've introduced this double height arched green pavilion, which has these multiple glass chandeliers hanging in it. And behind it is the staircase that actually leads you up to the first floor. Again, these glass chandeliers are all made in Moradabad and just sourced from here and sent to Dubai. And this is the staircase that leads you up. Tucked underneath the staircase is actually the only guest loo at the ground floor level. And the staircase itself is in mild steel and timber. That's our first floor. There. As you see, the centerpiece of it is this semicircular bar. There is where you enter on the staircase over there, and then there's a one point of exit to the outdoor area. On the first floor, I apologize, is also a small kitchen and a large block of our guest restrooms. And at the far right corner over there is a small VIP experience, which is called the gin room. That's the only place in the site from where you don't get views to the beach, but that gives you views back to the city and to the Dubai skyline. So this bar, which has now come to be known as the Elephant Bar, is really the centerpiece of our experience here. The bar itself, the counter, is crafted with facetted timber tiles and green marble countertop. The bar backdrop is entirely crafted in stained glass with a 6-foot, three-dimensional elephant at the centerpiece of it. That's what it looks like in the evenings when it's lit. Again, on the first floor, the glazing at the periphery opens up to give you a seamless indoor-outdoor experience. So to anchor some of our furniture, we developed this one lighting pavilion. This was, again, in collaboration with Ayush Kasliwal, and that's actually work in progress at his workshop. And that's what it sits like in the space. This is one of the outdoor decks. So there's Baithak-inspired C-shaped booths. And this is the other edge of our outdoor deck, which is a great location for sundowners if you're ever in Dubai. Even the bathroom became an opportunity for us to celebrate craft. So all of the sinks that you see here are actually cast brass, where craftsmen have hand-carved these patterns out. The last remaining piece of this was the gin room, which was meant to be a VIP experience and was meant to be a departure from the rest of the palette. So we worked with a different flooring here. It's a timber parquet flooring, and the shell itself is a darker, deeper blue. But the key piece holding this entire space together is this arched display that you see here on the left. These are actually bar cabinets, which are holding crystal decanters with various gin infusions. And you actually enter the gin room through one of these arched portals. All the tabletops here in timber are embellished with this lotus pattern, which is engraved into the timber using brass wire, tarkashi, which is a craft of UP. So that's what the space looks like during the day. There's a window there that gives you views back to the skyline. And that's what it's like at night. That's all I have for you folks today. Thank you so much for your time.